think I'm starting to get a bit of a cold, which is kind of annoying because I've been so busy lately and I've got so much to do. But what I do find is that when I get these symptoms, they don't stick around for long. Kind of, I get the early stages and then it subsides and I feel fine again. But having those symptoms does make it annoying. And it's even more difficult when sometimes you compare yourself to other people, which I shouldn't do. I compare myself to other people that I see on social media who have brain cancer, and mainly the people you see on, say, YouTube. I'm not singling out anyone, but there's these group of people that I follow, and they have brain cancer, and they're largely asymptomatic, or at least they all appear to be asymptomatic, and they can do things that I can't do. I have reflex epilepsy, which means that there's always for me it's a known cause. I know the triggers for my epilepsy, so I can't do things like have vigorous workouts, where when I enter into different energy systems and then that'll make me have a seizure. I could try and push that and improve my fitness levels, and then what I've found is my seizure threshold can actually be improved by that. But it's a slippery slope and it's quite difficult to think about that. It's quite difficult to come up with a routine that isn't pushing myself too hard, but is causing me to improve. And the other consideration is, or the other way that I think about it is, the things that appear to have improved my seizure threshold and me getting away from my triggers appear to also be things that help with the cancer. So it makes me question what type of exercise is even best for keeping the cancer away. And also, if you had active disease, what kind of exercise would be best? Because you can ask, is it a good idea to do this intense kind of exercise where it's more glycolytic activity? And I know that if I do more glycolytic activity and my blood glucose rises too high when I'm exercising and my ketones drop, I can have a seizure. That's why in the past I was using exogenous ketones when I was in the gym, and it actually worked. It actually helped me. I don't know, maybe it's because I was running out of that fuel because I was using it for the exercise, because that's the predominant fuel that I was using metabolically. I don't know, but it's interesting how that was rescuing me from further inducing those kinds of seizures from the reflex epilepsy. And everyone has a seizure threshold. It's just that mine is much more sensitive. Meaning that, say, if you're a healthy person watching this, a healthy person, doesn't have a damaged brain, and I stop you from sleeping for days on end, you would probably have a seizure, or something like that would happen to you. It's like migraines. People who have migraine disorders, they don't realize that that's a type of epilepsy. One of my symptoms is actually that I have problems with my speech. So sometimes if I, like now, thinking about the words, it can be difficult. Or if I can think of the words but I can't sound them out. Those are my main two symptoms, and I've had to work very, very hard on that over time. The first thing that happened to me when I had seizures in the past and just after my hemorrhage is I lost my speech and I had to get it back. And then intermittently after that, my speech would randomly go and come back. Or I had slurred speech like I was drunk. and this would just happen randomly. It's like a type of seizure, but it doesn't affect you in any other way. Um, but I have low-level seizure activity all the time. I don't call them seizures because maybe I've been told by neurologists maybe like they aren't seizures, but I see them as a type of seizure, a type of focal seizure. A focal seizure just means it can be it's not like a grand mal seizure. You're completely conscious, but you experience these strange sensations. It depends on where it is in the brain, but yeah, I experience constantly the difficulty speaking and comprehending language, having to concentrate a lot more. Every word that comes out of my mouth, I have to really. I can actually feel it in that part of my brain as I'm talking. It's the strangest feeling. If it's like a build-up of pressure in that area of my brain, the speech and language area, and if I was to continue talking and thinking about the words, that can induce a seizure as well. I've done that before, and I can feel that happening, and I have to pull back. And then when I pull back from that, that part of my brain recovers. It's localized entirely in that area. It's the strangest feeling. You can feel the activity. It's really strange. I also can't sleep on that side because I can trigger seizures in my sleep if I do that. I did that once before, just early on. So I don't do that anymore. Also, it's quite painful. I get pain on that side because of when I had my operation. Still get loads of pain. And when the weather changes, I get pain on that side too. So there's all these things that I think about. And if you try to, there are people you don't hear about with brain tumors who have all these symptoms. You don't hear about them because the ones on social media who promote themselves so much, they're the ones who are asymptomatic, or they appear to be asymptomatic. So you'll see them on YouTube, let's say, and they just appear to be completely normal, and they're doing things that I couldn't do, and other patients can't do. Say, you could have a tumor in an area that completely paralyzes your whole right side or left side, or you might have hemifacial spasms. With me, if you look at my eyes, this eye is kind of closed, and it's very difficult to open it, and it affects this whole side, even just going down. It feels like the muscles are constantly tensed, and even if I try to, I do try to exercise it, but it's very difficult to do, and it makes you look like you're tired often, or like one eyebrow's. You see how it looks like one eyebrow's constantly raised, like but yeah. I have no control over it. When I'm tired, it's more pronounced, so you can see it a lot more. And when I have lots of energy, it's only slightly noticeable. But I get quite conscious of it because I can feel it all the time, and I feel like sometimes if it's really bad, people misjudge my emotions. And that's one of my symptoms as well. Just my whole personality can change because just of the symptoms that I have. My tumor covered 3 different areas of my brain. So my symptoms, even though I don't have typical kind of seizures anymore, it's controlled with diet and lifestyle. If I get stressed or anything like that, or just even changes in weather and things like that, or talking too much, like I said, that can trigger these weird symptoms. Sometimes I feel like I'm on a boat and I'm rocking, which makes you feel kind of sick. It's not nice. Lots of things. And then sometimes you just have to rest and not do anything. Even it's the strangest thing because I have lots of energy, but then if I try to do certain things that activate those areas of the brain that are affected, my brain just says no. I have to rest. I can't do that anymore. Sometimes I'll have loads of energy and I'll be able to do all these things, but it's the area of speech that's affected, and then I just can't talk for a while. I can talk, but then it makes things worse. And I can feel when it gets better, and then I'm fine. I can talk as much as I like. But I'm aware of all of my triggers. I was walking past someone painting the other day, and the paint fumes it's one of my main triggers. And I just had a focal seizure. And it's quite unpleasant. The other thing I was thinking of discussing or talking about, it's not really a discussion because no one's talking back to me, I guess. It's just that there was someone in my brain cancer group. I have an online brain cancer group, Beating Brain Cancer it's called, and I helped to run that. And there was someone who was talking about how their relative had only hours to live, which was heartbreaking. But then you often get these responses which are horrible, just saying things like, oh, well, cannabis cures cancer, so you should have done that, or you can do that now, and then they'll suddenly be miraculously cured. But it's not quite that simple. It can help, definitely. I'm an advocate for having cannabis to help with cancer, to help treat cancer, alongside loads of other things, because I don't think there's one thing in isolation that can help, but definitely this combination of things. It's not just diet alone either. I don't even just do diet alone. I've done diet, intermittent fasting, and my diet's very well thought out. It's not just this cookie cutter approach. It's personalized to me. I always say you don't necessarily have to do what I've done, just maybe ask the same questions that I ask. I don't have all the answers, but I try to ask all the right questions. That also makes me think about just my deuterium depleted water experiment. I had a lot of interest by that, and more people appear to be really thinking about deuterium more. But again, it's not just one thing, even though it appears to encompass everything under that umbrella, like deuterium's everything. But it's not necessarily true, and there's so much we still don't know about it. The science makes so much sense and is so comprehensive, but you can have the best science, but things don't always translate when you try to apply that. That's the issue I have with it. The other issue I have with deuterium depleted water in particular is it takes a very long time to get to the therapeutic dose, and it's very expensive. And you can deplete deuterium through fasting, and deuterium from the body from fasting and having deuterium depleted foods, and also being in the sun and having cold ice baths and things like that. So you don't necessarily need to drink the water, and if you have advanced disease, I'd say the water's maybe better for cancer prevention, rather than if you have active cancer. because, as I said, it takes a long time to get to the therapeutic dose. You have to constantly be drinking the water. It's very expensive, and we still have a lot to learn about it. A lot to learn. You could even ask, is it like a cause or effect? Is that accumulation of deuterium in your mitochondria on the electron transport chain? Is it a cause or an effect of something? Definitely think maybe there's something in. I think there's definitely a lot of. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot into the science behind it. But can you effectively deplete your body's deuterium to the level where it can have that effect on cancer on its own? I don't think it is. I don't think it can on its own. My mum was successfully depleting her body's level of deuterium over time with the deuterium depleted water, but her cancer got worse, and she was also on a ketogenic diet. But I think that at the advanced stage that her cancer is, that it's probably taking up other fuels a lot more, because that's what advanced cancers do. And she's lost significant amount of weight and lean tissue. So we know that glutamine is a major fuel for cancer, as well as the glucose. And your body these cancerous cells can get glutamine from muscle tissue and the blood. So that's maybe one of the reasons why she was becoming quite frail. Yeah. And we're seeing what's happening with the Care Oncology Clinic stuff. We'll see. Never give up, that's the message. But yeah, I think that's everything. That's all I wanted to talk about, really. Have a good day. And I'll try and get over this little cold that I've got. It's not too bad, as you can see. It affects my symptoms a bit. So I'll just have a rest and I'll be fine by Monday, I'm sure.